So we're going to be looking at volume of cylinders today. In earlier videos, we talked about how to find the volume of triangular prisms and rectangular prisms. You're going to see that the volume of a cylinder is basically found the same way. So first of all, let's just figure out what a cylinder is. It's very similar to the other prisms, but instead of having triangular bases or rectangular bases, both of the bases are going to be circles. Okay, so that's just, cylinder is just a special name really for a circular prism. All right, so you can have, you can find the volume using the same formula. So we've seen this before, where the capital B stands for the area of the base. Okay, this is an area of the base. That's why it's a big B and not a little b. And then times the height of the prism, or height of the cylinder in this case. All right, so remember the formula. So if the base of a cylinder is going to be a circle, then you're going to need to know how to find the area of a circle. So that formula is pi times the radius squared. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so it says let's color the bases. So in a cylinder, then the bases are always going to be the circular sides, right? So that's going to be your big B, right? So this part right here is always your big B. So in this case, I'm going to use pi r squared, since this is a circle, and pi I'm going to use as 3.14 times the radius is 4 squared. Oh, I forgot this. To find the volume, always start by finding the area of the base. So that's what we've already kind of jumped to. So we found the bases, now we find the area of that, since it's a circle, using our formula for circle, and now we're solving. So 3.14 times 4 squared. Remember, 4 squared means 4 times 4, which is 16. So I need to do 3.14 times 16, 24, 8, 18. Start with a 0, 4, 1, 3, 4, 12, 10, 5, and then 1, 2, 50.24. This part right here is 50.24. The height of the cylinder is just this part right here, how tall it is. So the height is 15. And the volume is found by multiplying the area of the base times the height, the B times the H. So we're going to multiply 15 times 50.24. So if I multiply times 15, I get 20. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 0 and 1, 25. Start with a 0, I get 4, 2, 0, 5. And when I add these up, I get 0, 6, 3, 5, 7. And there are 1, 2 decimal places. This ends up being 753.6 or 0.60. I don't have to have the 0. And then I am measuring this in centimeters. So volume, remember, is always cubic. This is going to be cubic centimeters. Okay? All right, so now we're just going to keep practicing and that whole process. All right, so I have another cylinder. We're going to find the cylinder, the volume, round to the nearest tenth if we need to. All right, so again, I'm going to start by start with my formula, which is the area of the base times the height. So in a cylinder, the area, the base, is going to be pi r squared, because it's a circle. So pi is 3.14. The radius squared would be 5 squared, which in this case is 25. So now I need to multiply 3.14 times 25. So 5 times 4 is 20, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, 5 times 3 is 15. Start with a 0. 4 times 2 is 8, 2 times 1, 2 times 3 gives me 0, 15, 8, and 7, and then there's 2 decimal places. So my base is 78.5. Okay, so over here, for my volume, I'm going to use 78.5 times the height, which is 8.3. Okay, now I just need to multiply those numbers together, 78.5 times 8.3. All right, so 5 times 3 is 15, 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. Start with a 0. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 8 is 64. Plus 4 is 8. Carrier 6. 8 times 7 is 56. Plus 6 is 62. And then add those up. 11, 5, 6. And there are 1, 2 decimal places, so 1, 2 decimal places here. Okay, so my volume is 651.55. Tells me to round to the nearest tenth. I'm going to make sure I put my answer in the right form. So the 5 is in the 10th place. This is 5 or more. That's going to round this up to 651.6. This is being measured in centimeters, so my volume is going to be in cubic centimeters. Okay, so this is volume. Number 2 says determine the volume of a cylinder. So that tells me what I'm working with. It has a diameter of 16. So diameter is all the way across, and a height of 20. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with the volume is the area of the base times the height, but I need to find the B first, big B first. Okay, this is a circle, so I need to use pi r squared. Pi is 3.14. The radius is half of the diameter, so that would be 8. And then I'm going to square it, 8 squared. 8 times 8 is 64, so now I need to do 3.14 times 64. I'm going to do that over here. 3.14 times 64 is 16, 5, and 12. Start with a 0. 24, 8, 18. Add it up. 6, 9, 10, 10, 2. There are 1, 2 decimal places, so this is 200.96. Okay, to find the volume, I need to multiply that now. 200.96 times the height, and the height is 20. Right, so if I multiply 200.96 times 20, start with some zeros. Start my second row with the 0. 2 times 6 is 12. 18, 19. 1, 0, and 4. All right, add those up. There's 2 decimal places, so I end up getting 4,019.20, and then I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, so I don't really have to round, but I'm going to drop the 0. And this is being measured in inches, so volume is going to be in cubic inches. So my volume is 4,019.2 cubic inches. Okay, so those are pretty straightforward. This is how you use the formula. This is what you do. 3 is a little different. It says a platform like the one shown was built to hold a sculpture for an art exhibit. What is the volume of the figure? So in this one, they've combined 3 different 3D figures. So I have a rectangular prism, and then I have a cylinder, and then I have a rectangular prism. And so if I want to find the volume of the whole figure, then I'm going to have to find the volume of each part. So I'm going to start by finding the volume first of the rectangular part, so the top and the bottom. And remember, it's the same formula, but the shape of the prism, the shape of the base is different. So that's how the formula can be used for several things. We just have to change the area formula for the base. So in a rectangular prism, the area of the base, or the base, is always a rectangle. So you can kind of see, here's my rectangle here. So how do you find the area of a rectangle? You multiply the length times the width, or the base times the height. In our case, that would be 20 times 8, which is 160. Okay, so now I have 160, that's the area of the base, times the height, which is 5. So I'm going to do 160 times 5 is 0.3800. This is going to equal 800. Right, so that's the volume of the top part right here. And you also could just do, if you remember, for rectangles, rectangular prisms, it's length times width times height. You can do it that way too. And then if I look at the bottom, they have the same exact measurements. So I just need to know when I get my total area here, I'm going to add the 800 twice. Okay, because I have a top and I have a bottom. Right, but everything else is the same. All right, and then the other volume I'm looking for is the volume of the cylinder. Okay, and I just like to kind of remind myself what I'm finding. I kind of make this little, I don't know, symbol down here. Sometimes I just draw a picture. Sometimes I abbreviate the word, and that way I can kind of keep straight which volume I'm finding. So this is the volume of the rectangle. This is the volume of the cylinder. It's just kind of a shorthand. Volume of a cylinder uses the same formula, but the base will be different. All right, so in a cylinder, the base is a circle, so I'm going to use pi r squared. And so that would be 3.14. And the radius, if I look at the picture, so this is the whole thing right here. That means it's the diameter. So the radius would only be half of that, which would be 4. But then I have to square it, so 4 squared. All right, 4 squared is 16, so I need to do 3.14 times 16. Go ahead and do that. 3.14 times 16. It's 24, 8, 18. Start with a 0, 4, 1, 3, 4, 12, 10, 5. Okay, so 50.24. So that's the area of the base. And then the height of the cylinder is this part right here. That would be 15. So now I have to do that part. 50.24 times 15 would be 20, 12, 25. Start with a 0, 4, 2, 0, 5. And then add those up. 0, 6, 3, 5, 7. And there are 2 decimals here, so 2 decimals here. All right, so that is the volume of the cylinder, 753.6. I can drop the 0. And then I want to add that to my other rectangular bases. So I'm going to add the 753.6. I'm going to make these 0.0 so everything lines up. And that's going to give me 6, and 3, 5, 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 7 is 23. So that gives me a total volume of the whole thing, which is equal to 2,353.6, and this is being measured in meters, so this will be in cubic meters. All right, so that's the volume of cylinders. Same formula you've used before, only now the base is the shape of a circle, so make sure you're using pi r squared to find that area first. All right, see you soon.